What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel where we talk all things medicine, business, and life lessons. Today's video is probably the most vulnerable video, but the most honest video I can make, and it's about my entire process from going to college to medical school and then finishing medical school. And basically, the premise of this video is to tell you that I wish I could sit here and say that I got through medical school because I was so smart. I was so passionate about the material I was learning. I was so forward thinking, but honestly, that's not the truth. I got through medicine because I had a genuine interest, but I had a lot of help. And I think that life helped me out a lot in getting through this process. And I'm gonna share about 5 or 6 different stories about when life or the divine or God intervened and helped me finish this journey. And maybe it could help you at home. Maybe it'll just be some good stories for you to listen to. So let's get started. Let's talk about my process of applying to medical school. So if you're at home, you may not know this, but to apply to medical school, you have to take this test called the MCAT. Basically, it's all the information you learn in college summed into one 6 to 8 hour test. I took this test during COVID. I studied 9 or 10 months. I had a tutor. I did all the test courses, everything, right? The day of the test comes, I get to the test, I take the test, submit my test. 2 weeks later, I get my results, and I basically failed the test. I probably got like a 50% score on the test. And usually to get into medical school, you need like a 70 or 60%. So I looked at myself, 10 months of studying, 10 months of stress and worrying about this, to fumble, to drop the ball. In that moment, I was super defeated. I was like sitting on my floor. And me, I'm not really one to kind of show defeat, but I was sitting on my floor, just head down, just thinking about, okay, maybe I'm gonna have to take another year and apply the following year. My dad comes to my room and he's like, hey, how'd the test go? I was like, yeah, this is the result. I gotta wait another year to take a test. My dad's like, no. You gotta take it again. I was like, what do you mean I gotta take it again? I got like a 60%. There's no way I could take it again. I got like a 500 or something, 501. He's like, no, you gotta take it again. You prepped for 10 months. It was probably a fluke. So me, next thing I know, I see my dad leave the room. He comes in with this card, this credit card or debit card. And then he's signing me up for a test. In that moment, I'm like, shit. I guess I'll take this test again, right? What's the worst that could happen if I already failed it once, right? So the new date is like 10, 11 days later for the new test. So I sit there for maybe 1 week. One day I take in my room to sulk and kind of just, just feel the failure a little bit. And then I have like 9 or 10 days to prepare for this new exam. And the score will determine if I can even apply to medical school, if I can even get into medical school. So in 10 days, I spent 12 hours a day in my room. And I tried everything, right? I tried to figure out what went wrong. I tried to restudy. I tried to work on my flaws. Finally, 10 days later, I wake up and it's test day, test number 2. I go in that test with no expectations, no expectations to succeed, no expectations to fail. It was the freest I've ever felt because there was no outcome that I desired. I already fumbled the bag, right? I already failed once. What's the worst that could happen? And it was the most free I ever felt in a test. 2 weeks later, my score comes back. I jumped maybe 25 to 30%. So if I had like a 500, I have like a 508 or 509 or something of that sort. And now with that score, I applied to medical school. And the reason this story is important is because when I got to the medical school interviews from a bunch of different schools, they told me that they wanted to interview me because they've never seen an applicant jump that many points in 10 days. They're like, how did you do it? What's your method? They wanted to understand my psychology. And honestly, there was no psychology. It was just another opportunity open, another door open. I walked through it, not even knowing if I was ready or not. And it was all because of my dad. And that test I took was actually what allowed me to get accepted into 5 or 6 different medical schools. Every school talked about that story. Like, how did this applicant jump 30% in 10 days? We want him at our school. So that first story is to tell you that the failure that I experienced in my life, right? The door closing was actually what catapulted me to getting into medical school. It was actually the help I had, the perfect scenario, the perfect circumstance for me to get into all these different schools. That was the first portion where I was like, wow, maybe things aren't in my control. There's a lot of things that are happening in my life that I don't have control over, but I have to trust that whoever does have control has my best interest in mind. Second thing, now I get into medical school. I get accepted into medical school. I'm looking at a few schools in California. I'm looking at a school on the East Coast. And I get a scholarship. I get a scholarship from a school in California, but I get nothing on the East Coast. And something inside of me told me I kind of want to leave California. I want to go somewhere new. But there's no scholarship. There's nothing there. One day I'm on YouTube just looking up, med school students' journey into medical school, or like a day in the life of a medical student. And I run across this girl named Julia, and she actually goes to medical school. She went to the medical school that I actually currently attend and graduated from. She talked about how she won a scholarship to go to her medical school. And she had this scholarship email prompt, right? Which was like an entire letter that she created talking about her life circumstances, and she sent it to the dean, and that actually allowed her to get money off of tuition. So I email her, I comment on her video. I'm like, hey, I would love to see the letter that you sent. I kind of want to apply and try to get different scholarships as well. Well, she hits me back. She sends me that letter. She sends me that scholarship letter. I take it, I move it around a little bit. I put my own Yvonne touch in it. And then I submit it to my dean. And then I won a scholarship to come to the East Coast. What are the odds, right? What are the odds? Worked in my favor. Something was looking out for me. Now we get into medical school. First year medical school is tough, right? Because you have this amount of information, maybe like half a year's worth of information that's going to be tested in 2 weeks. And you're with some of the most brilliant minds. Everyone has a background in the sciences. Everyone was at these Ivy Leagues. Everyone is smart. And you have to pass the exam to move on to the next exam. And I was barely making it. Like if the pass is here, I was right here. I was barely making it. I didn't know how to put all that information in my head. I was spending like 18, 19 hours a day just studying, doing note cards, mindlessly just clicking, right? And I was like, this is not sustainable. I did nothing those first 3 months except study in my room. And then I started to look up like studying strategy, studying techniques, what to do, how to learn large volumes of information. And then I ran across a program called I Can Study. And I Can Study is an Australian-based company spearheaded by Vincent Tsai and Justin Sung. And they're actually ex-doctors. Well, Justin Sung is an ex-doctor that actually had the same problem I did, which was like learning how to learn. Because we go to school for 18 years, we never actually learn how to put information in our mind, how to use it, and how to apply it. And he had a method that actually taught you how to use information, how to condense large volumes of information into something that's digestible. So I was like, oh shit, okay. I start the program, I pay for their monthly course, and every 3 months I'm just on their chats, I'm on the videos, I'm studying, I'm learning from them, and they're literally teaching me how to learn. And honestly, after a year of that course, it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me, because a year of that course saved me so many hours during the day and during the week. I was finally able to actually have hobbies and enjoy myself and actually enjoy life on the East Coast. So that course actually helped me pass my first year, pass my second year, pass my licensing exams. It helped me learn how to learn, which was like the most valuable lesson in my life. See how a problem arose my first year of medical school, and a solution came just from me searching and knowing that I needed a solution. This is my example of divine help. Next thing was business, right? I got to the point, middle of medical school, where I was like, man, I kind of want to create something. I had this bug, I had this itch, this yearning inside that I want to make something in this area, but I didn't know what. So finally, the summer of my first year, there was an opportunity for a community project in the summer. So I do a community project. It's teaching self-defense to New Jersey residents, right? Something simple, because I used to like martial arts a lot. I was like, what if I taught everyone the skills that I knew? In teaching self-defense, I worked with my self-defense instructor, and something just told me he'd be the right guy to work with. Throughout the summer, we're working together, and we see that, wow, people need self-defense, but they also need first aid. And then they also need some stop the bleed, right? And then we created that package, right? Self-defense, first aid, stop the bleed, into this package that we offered. And one day I was sitting there at night, I was sitting there in my room, just kind of reflecting, and I was thinking about this idea, this business idea, but I just didn't really have anything crystallized. And the words street ready came to me, because it's a way to teach people how to be ready on the street. Very, very catchy 2 words, street ready. And street ready was the name of the business I started, right? Those 2 words came to me one night in the dark, just sitting in my room. And that was the business I ran with. And that's also the business I'm running to this day with the same instructor, my business partner. When I was moving to the East Coast, I couldn't have told you that I would create a business. It was not in my plans. I couldn't have told you that I would take this learning course. It was not in my plans. I couldn't have told you that I'd get a scholarship to come here. It was not in my plans, but it was in the divine plan. Another thing was choosing my specialty. For the longest, I thought I wanted to be a trauma surgeon. I came here and I was like, man, I'm gonna be a trauma surgeon. I'm in Newark, New Jersey. This is actually one of the most trauma heavy areas. There's so much danger, so many things going on. Like, this is the best place to train as a surgeon. I went through my trauma surgeon rotation. I was like, okay, I still want to be a surgeon. Then later in the year, I was like, man, maybe I like internal medicine. And then towards the end of my third year, starting my fourth year, I still was undecided as to what I wanted to do in medicine. And then one day I did an emergency medicine rotation, and my schedule was so I did my rotation at the beginning, I did my rotation in like June. So I had to do it at that portion and at that point in the year. And I just worked with a resident who told me, yeah, you know what, you'd be a very good emergency medicine doctor. You should look into it. And that idea was just like, oh shit, maybe I should look into that. So I started to look into it. I started to be conscious on shifts to see if I actually liked it. And I found that I actually liked it. So with that being said, I had to do away rotations. And in doing away rotations, I figured out that because I did my rotation in June, it was the perfect time for me to do away rotations, get my letters of recommendation, and actually be a competitive applicant. It was divine timing. It was just perfect timing. And now I'm going into emergency medicine. I got into my top program, and I see myself really as someone that was always an emergency medicine doctor. So that was another example or scenario where I'm saying that there was no plan of mine to choose emergency medicine. In my head, it was surgery or internal medicine, but emergency medicine appeared. The last thing was just moving to New York. One day I took a very, very big licensing exam. It was a step 1 exam. And if you're in medicine, you understand this exam. And something told me when I was preparing for that exam that, man, I no longer live in New Jersey. Like, it seemed like that season had ended. And then within a few months, everything opened up. I found myself moving to New York and living in New York now, and I couldn't be any happier. So I guess I told all these different stories and scenarios to tell that I had a lot of help in my life, right? And there was a guilt I felt because I used to look at my classmates and they would work so hard. They work night and day. They put in so much effort, so much willful effort. They were so hardworking. And me, I worked hard, but also had a little nudge, a little boost, a little bit of help. When I was stuck on a problem, an answer would come, right? When I was stuck on a solution, when I was stuck on a problem in terms of, let's say I wanted to learn how to study, an opportunity to take a studying course came, right? When I wanted to create a business and I was really, really thinking about it and I let go of that idea, a business opportunity opened up. When I wanted to move to New York, very, very hard, very, very earnestly, I could say, an opportunity to move to New York came. When I wanted to, go to medical school on scholarship, I didn't want to pay all the student loans. An opportunity for a scholarship came. So I reflected on this a lot, as I'm graduating medical school in maybe 3 weeks now. I felt a little bit of guilt, right? Because I was like, man, how do things just happen in my life? And everyone makes such a willful effort, right? Everyone is working so hard, where I work hard, but also things come. And I realized that when you submit yourself to whatever life has planned for you, which sounds kind of crazy because we're in a society where it's go, go, go. It's me. It's, your own efforts. But when you actually let go of that, when you actually do what you see in the moment, when you trust that life is taking care of you, that whoever created you is taking care of you, whether you believe in God, whether you believe in the universe, whether you believe in energy or chakras, whatever it is, it really doesn't matter. It's just different words for something taking care of you, and something put us here on earth, and something is taking care of us. And I've just seen it firsthand. So as I get ready for my next transition in life, I start the next 4 years of residency, something is taking care of me. And I have to trust that. I have to trust that when I don't understand why things are happening a certain way, when opportunities leave or opportunities come or people go, I have to trust that something is taking care of me. And life is really a journey of finding who you really are, discovering yourself. And if you submit to life's plan, life will put all the things in your path for you to discover your true self. So for some people at home, this may be some mumbo jumbo, but this makes perfect sense to me. And it's the most vulnerable video I did because it's a video that kind of goes against the ego. It goes against the hustle mentality. It goes against thinking you're the man, right? Because I'm telling you in front of the camera that I'm not the man. I got through this process, yes, through my hard work, but also through some divine help. So it's very humbling. It's very humbling to see that. And I think that's the end of the video. I think I said everything I wanted to say. One thing that came to me is just, even in reflecting in life, I see a lot of times that a lot of things that have happened in my life have been scenarios that I've been protected from, which sounds crazy. Like when I lived in Minnesota as a kid, we'd walk sometimes 3 hours to the rec center, 3 hours back, no problem. But we'd walk at night, we'd walk early in the morning. And me being an adult now, I see the danger in that. There's so many shady characters, there's kidnappings, there's so much crazy stuff that happens in the world, but for some reason, nothing happened to us. There was someone looking out for us. And I just wanted to create this video to tell whoever is listening at the other end of this camera that trust that someone is looking after you. Someone at home is taking care of you. And yeah, just live on. So with that being said, that's this video. I have nothing much to say. Take it easy.